Mitchell Taylor fans. When you see me in public, don't talk to me. Don't make eye contact. You need to do nothing but kneel before me.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion from Brazil. The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings, diehards, and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining me for another episode. We have a good episode today. We have Michael Osiris and Mitchell Taylor on. 2 interviews on today's episode. These guys, if you haven't heard of them yet, you will. So maybe we can be your first introduction to them. I don't know. But then we also have the first ever Ohio Valley Wrestling Report with Brian Cannon from OVW Mania blog. You can check him out on there for OVW results and insight every week. And you can also now catch him here on the Dave Dynasty Show with an audio version. Before we get into all that, let's look at a couple of upcoming events that you should check out. On October 12th in Crawfordsville, Indiana, New Generation Wrestling presents the Quest for the Cup. So make sure you're there for that event. October 18th, South Bend, Indiana, Impact Wrestling presents a show. October 20th in Chicago, Illinois, Impact Wrestling will be there also for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. And then November 2nd in Chicago, Illinois, Major League Wrestling will present their pay-per-view debut. So make sure you are there for all those events and support indie wrestling in whatever area of the country, whatever area of the world you're in. Get out and check out a show. We put it out there on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We were going to do a little Q&A, so we are going to dive into that now. We have some listener-submitted questions that I'm going to answer for you now, and you can do that. The easiest way to get these questions to me, we can do these every so often. The easiest way to do that is you can email me at dave@davedynasty.com or send me a tweet at @TheDaveDynasty. And now let's dive into it. Clark Hogue submitted on Facebook, your favorite wrestling podcast besides your own. That is hands down both of the Jim Cornette podcasts, the Jim Cornette Experience and the Drive-Thru. I have several podcasts that I listen to regularly, but those always take priority over everybody else. Phil W. Phil, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name. Phil W. on Twitter. He is at Phil Never Give Up. Said, do you think the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys are an underrated tag team? That, of course, would be the team of Tracy Smothers, Steve Armstrong. Yes, I think they're a very underrated tag team. I think you can see some of their work on some of the Clash of the Champions, the different WCW things where they're working teams like the Midnight Express, etc., to see how good they are, how good they could have been. They kind of got buckled down with a kind of a bad-looking gimmick and some attire that kind of pigeonholed them. But yeah, I think they're a very underrated tag team. Dean Schaefer on Twitter at Parafis said, what is your favorite kind of candy bar? Hands down, Reese Cups. I'm a huge Reese's fan. Anybody that knows me knows that. No questions just asked there. Dale Litton on Facebook said, what is your viewpoints on backyard wrestling and its growing popularity with shows such as GTS and many others on the rise? I do not like backyard wrestling. I am not a supporter of backyard wrestling. I do know pretty much everybody as a fan has acted out things, in their living room, in the bedroom, in the backyard, and whatever else. But I do not think it needs to go beyond just that, just emulating what you see. I don't like when people are putting on these shows and selling tickets that are backyard and look unprofessional, and even that are purposely trying to look unprofessional. I'm not a fan of that. Just not for me. That's my opinion on it. The Corporation on Facebook asked me, what are some things that need to be incorporated into a wrestling contract? Is it okay to make handwritten changes to a wrestling contract before signing one? Well, I've never really thought much about wrestling contracts per se, but I think it needs the obvious, the terms of length, the terms of pay, any conditions that need to be put in there, the expectations on both sides on number of dates, number of appearances, what is expected on them. As far as handwritten changes, no. I think you can, make notes on the draft, and then it needs to be revised and brought back. I think it needs to be a finished document when it is ready to be signed. My old buddy Sign Guy on Facebook said, "What is your favorite food to eat at a wrestling event?" It would either be hot dogs or nachos. I'm very, very, very biased. I'm a very big fan of nachos. I love nachos, but I'm also a fan of hot dogs at sporting events. But there's nothing better than a hot dog at a ballpark. I'm telling you now. And John Thorne on Facebook said, "What is your favorite match to watch?" I actually have 3, and they have to come as a whole, and that is the trilogy from 1989 of Flair and Steamboat. That is a very spectacular trilogy in my eyes. And at that time, it was a point in my fandom that I was so into it that it was absolute perfection. It really showed me what professional wrestling should and could be. So I will take those because I love watching those to this day. I love that whole story from Steamboat coming out as Eddie Gilbert's partner up through, Terry Funk attacking Flair post match. So there you go. Again, we're going to pick a winner from one of these gentlemen, and actually, I'm going to say we have, and you will receive a Dave Dynasty Show sticker pack here within the next couple of weeks, and that is the winner is Clark Hogue. You have been drawn from random for those that we use the questions on the air, and you will receive a Dave Dynasty Show sticker pack in the near future. So I will be in touch with you, Clark, very soon to get your mailing information. Again, if you want to submit a question for a future Q&A, all you have to do is email me at dave@davedynasty.com, or you can go to Twitter at @TheDaveDynasty and tweet me there. So we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to have that very first Ohio Valley Wrestling report with OVW Mania's Brian Cannon. So stick around. Hey, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is your central hub for everything within the world of the Dave Dynasty Show. From there, you can find links to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of classic wrestling, every episode of the podcast, and other exclusive features there. While you're at DaveDynasty.com, check out the links to help financially support the show. That is how we keep this free every week. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/TheDaveDynasty and buy a shirt to help us out. PayPal.me/TheDaveDynasty to make a one-time financial contribution. Patreon.com/TheDaveDynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. Or you can click our affiliate links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. No additional charge to you, but it helps us out. Thank you for your support, and check out DaveDynasty.com. Complete your experience, The Dave Dynasty Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Cannon, and I am here with a very special OVW report for the Dave Dynasty Show. I am the owner and founder of a little blog called OVW Mania. You can find that online at ovwmania.blogspot.com. You can also find OVW Mania on Facebook at facebook.com/OVWManiaBC. And then you can also follow me on Twitter at the Brian Cannon. That's TheBrianCannon. Now, just a little bit of background about me. I've been a wrestling fan since I can remember. My dad used to take me to the Louisville Gardens and watch some of the old USWA shows with Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett, Bill Dundee, a lot of the superstars like that. And I've always watched wrestling, but I really got into OVW when they were the developmental company for WWE. Now, I never actually went to the shows, but I would follow it on TV here locally in the Louisville area. But ever since they had dropped the WWE contract with OVW, I still followed OVW and started going once they actually signed with Impact Wrestling for the first time in 2011 to be a developmental company. And I started regularly going to OVW shows at the end of 2011. And then I've been going pretty much every day since, every Wednesday night for their TV tapings and all their Saturday night specials and even some live events here and there. So I'm here to talk about what is arguably probably the biggest event that OVW has had this year. Last night they were at 4th Street Live. This was on September 11th for their Fight for Freedom show. And it was a really good show. It was very entertaining from start to finish. There was some swerves that I wasn't expecting myself. But just a little bit of detail about it. They brought in some big names from Kevin Nash just for a special meet and greet. Also competing on the show was Chavo Guerrero, Rhino, the Rock and Roll Express. So to continue on with what actually happened during that show, they started with a television title gauntlet that featured both Chavo Guerrero and Rhino. Chavo Guerrero defeated his first three opponents, Ashton Cove, Chase, and Colton Cage. And then Drew Hernandez, who was the current champion, came out and defeated him after kicking him below the belt behind the referee's back. But then Rhino came out, avoided a charge from Drew Hernandez, and hits the gore to get the three. And that was the first surprise of the night, as Rhino is now the new OVW television champion, which means he will be back at the arena Wednesday night, September 18th, at the Davis Arena, 4400 Shepherdsville Road in Louisville, Kentucky. Also on the card last night, there was an 8-man tag team match as the Legacy of Brutality, which is a really formidable team. It features the current OVW Southern Tag Team Champions, former WWE and Impact Wrestling superstar Jay Bradley and Cash Flow, Big Zoe and the Hood Ninja Hosea. They took on King's Ransom, who have been former OVW Southern Tag Team Champions themselves, Leonis and Maximus Khan, and they teamed with the legendary WWE Hall of Famers, the Rock and Roll Express. It broke loose at the end of the match with all 8 men fighting in and around the ring, but in the end of it all, Maximus Khan of King's Ransom hit Cash Flow with a spear to get the 3. So I can see that setting them up for a future OVW Southern Tag Team title shot. A women's title match, Madison Rain also came in last night, and she fought current OVW Women's Champion Megan Bain. And Megan caught her with an F5-like maneuver, Brock Lesnar-esque, if you will, to retain and continue to be your OVW Women's Champion. There was an Anarchy title match. The Warlord of Weird, Sin Bodhi, defended against OVW's resident demon, Amon. And it was kind of a crazy match. There was everything from tickle fights to an umbrella that Sin goosed Amon with, a bowling ball that ended up between the legs of Amon, and more. But at the end of the match, it was Sin Bodhi getting the win, because the idea of this Anarchy title match is whoever strapped their opponent to a vertical stretcher would be the winner. So they had a stretcher set up on stage that Sin Bodhi was able to choke Amon out and strap him to get the win. There was a mixed tag team match that featured the Entourage 2.0, which is Shiloh Jones and DL3. They lost to the team of the Marvelous Show, which is Mr. Marvelous Melvin Maximus and his now wife, Miss Marvelous. They were always a couple, but after the match, Melvin proposed to her, and she said yes. They had a $100,000 ladder match that featured OVW superstars Nigel, William Lutz, Brandon Wolf, the Boy Wonder Sam Thompson, Dimes, and the return of the young lion Tyler Matrix, as well as OVE stars Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. At the end of it all, again, a crazy match. There was ladders everywhere, people flying through ladders, flying out of the ring. Sam Thompson himself actually launched himself so far that he overshot his opponents and landed in the front row. But it was Sam Thompson at the very end who was able to climb the ladder and retrieve the briefcase for $100,000. Another surprise of the night happened when Team OVE, the Draw Sami Callihan, teamed up with Tony Gunn, who was a former OVW heavyweight champion, to take on the team representing OVW of Dustin Jackson and Randall Floyd. Both men for OVW were down. They looked like they were about to put Randall Floyd away as they had a chair across his throat, and Sami was about to hit the chair with a bat, but instead Tony Gunn asked if he could do it. Sami Callihan gives up the baseball bat for Tony Gunn to then whack him upside the head with, and then Randall Floyd and Dustin Jackson recover to make the pin on Sami Callihan as Tony Gunn walks away from Sami. And then in your main event of the evening, you had Justin Smooth going one-on-one with Category 5 Corey Storm. Corey Storm is a great competitor, high flyer. He's considered the Prince of Flight in OVW. He is only 18 years old, but has several years' experience already. And he was looking to become the youngest ever OVW heavyweight champion. There were several ref bumps involved in this match, and unfortunately at the end, the ref that made the count counted not seeing Justin Smooth using the ropes for leverage on a pin, and Justin Smooth remains the OVW Heavyweight Champion. There is all kinds of great things going on weekly at OVW. If you are in the Louisville area, I definitely recommend you coming down to the Davis Arena. For the rest of September, every Wednesday night, bell time is at 7 o'clock, and they go live on the air locally at 8 o'clock for their main show. Starting in October, they're actually moving to Tuesday nights at the Davis Arena, and you can see all the action there. It's a fun night. It's very family friendly. It's just a great show that they put on all around. Al Snow has done a great job since taking over as the owner of OVW. Big shows like the one at 4th Street, definitely things that you want to see, and especially their Saturday night specials. So they didn't have one this month because of their big show down at 4th Street. But if they have another one, or if they have a Saturday night special at the Davis Arena, you should definitely get there. Tickets every week for the TV tapings, or actually it'll be live TV now. It won't even be a taping anymore. For live TV is only $7 per person. For the Saturday night shows, if you buy your tickets in advance, they're only $10 a person, or they're $15 at the door. So I definitely think you should be there ringside at the shows along with me. Again, you can follow me if you're interested in all the OVW action. Like I said, so there's a lot of Impact stuff being involved as they are, once again, with Impact Wrestling. So make it a point, if you're in the Louisville area, to be down there, or if not, make sure you're following along. Again, ovwmania.blogspot.com, Twitter at the Brian Cannon, or on Facebook at facebook.com/OVWManiaBC. That's all I have for this week. I'll be looking to check in again here on the Dave Dynasty Show. Have a great week.
Since 2001, drug companies dumped 1 billion opioid pills in West Virginia, causing over 3,000 overdose deaths and thousands of babies born addicted by no fault of their own. I'm attorney Stephen New. If you're the grandparent or guardian of a child born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, call me. I'll help you seek just compensation.
Call the law offices of Stephen P. New at 1-844-BAD-PILLS before time runs out.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Mitchell Taylor. How are we doing today, sir?
Doing great, Ike. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, and thank you again, Mitchell Taylor, for coming back on here. For folks who don't know, a little behind-the-scenes note, Ike Isaacs apparently doesn't know how to hit record on a Malto. So, we're doing a take 2 for Mitchell Taylor here. So, we'll go ahead and jump in here, not take too much of your time, Mitchell, but tell us, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Ike.
All right, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Actually, I currently live in Muncie, so that's not too far away from Fort Wayne. It's a nice area up that way. So tell me, being born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when did you begin to like wrestling? Is that something you've always had, or is that something you developed later on?
I was about 10 years old. I'm going to say 1985, so everyone knows how old I am now. It wasn't something that my family really watched, but I spent the night with a friend, and they were wrestling fans. I'd never even heard of it, and he turned it on one Friday night, and I saw The Missing Link and Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and, of course, Hulk Hogan, and fell in love with it on the spot, and it's never gone away.
Absolutely. So definitely having that kind of those early memories it pushes you along a little bit when you start wrestling. So when did you make the decision that, I want to actually train, I want to be a wrestler? So when did that happen, and who trained you?
Well, that's something that I actually kind of fell into. I didn't even know that becoming a wrestler was a thing. It was around 2004-ish. A friend of mine decided to do a tough man competition, asked me to be his corner man. I don't remember a lot about that other than his opponent's nickname was the Albino Rhino, and was about 6'8", 275 pounds or so, and the totality of the fight was about 15 seconds. Did not go well. So we got done with that, and my friend just said, "Hey, I'm not so good at real fighting. Why don't we try pro wrestling instead?" And I kind of laughed it off and said, "Yeah, man, you find us a place to go, and I'll do it with you." And he did. And 15 years later, here I am, and he lasted a few months. But So we went to Marion, Indiana, EWF. My original trainer was Wildman Rogers. Then they moved on to Justin and Jake Oman, Dave Phoenix. Things didn't get finished there. I kind of moved on and started doing my own thing separate from EWF. And Osiris, Congo Kong, however you know him, came in and worked with me some. There's a guy named Chris Hewitt, wrestled as Bam Morgan and Bam Hansen that kind of finished things off as far as the physical side of the business. But kind of the psychology and whatnot. I got most of that from Tom Williams, that runs War Wrestling over in Lima, Ohio. He's been a mentor to me for, upwards of 10 years now.
So you definitely have a lot that kind of propelled you up, and a lot of people who are kind of there to witness that growth and to help you grow into the wrestler that you are today, of course. So to kind of talk about your wrestling. So for people who have never seen Mitchell Taylor wrestler, Mitchell Taylor, depending on the promotion, will sometimes be presented as a member of royalty. And his entrances are absolutely fantastic. They are a spectacle. They're definitely something everybody needs to see. But just for a brief explanation, Mitchell comes out with two young men who accompany him. They are his squires. They announce you, they disinfect the ring, they clean your boots, and they keep the crowd in check. So definitely a couple of pretty useful people. But tell us how that got started. Who are your squires, and what's that all about?
Well, after we talked the last time, I went back and talked to them about it because I didn't fully remember how it all happened. But they're my sons. I have 5 sons. Ethan's 17. Austin's 14, Grant and Noah are 12, and then I have a little guy, Clay, who's 5. The ones that normally come to the ring with me are Austin. He's my personal ring announcer, and then Noah serves as my butler. Grant oftentimes referees on shows. The time that you're specifically referring to in Muncie, Grant was actually my butler that night because Noah had other plans. So basically what had happened was I was working ring crew for Legends of Wrestling up in Detroit with Tom, and Tom rode with us, and of course we spent 4 hours talking about the business pretty much straight. And he had spent the day with the boys too, and saw their love for the business, and they have unique personalities to put it mildly. And he kind of threw it out on the way home. That you're missing out. You can be bringing these kids to the ring with you. This one should be your ring announcer, and this one should be your butler, and this and that. And the more we talked about it, we kind of got excited, and the boys included, and so we just started trying it. Austin did have a little bit of ring announcing experience. We did a fair show one time, and he came with me just to watch, and the ring announcer didn't show up, and the promoter stuck a mic in his hand and said, "Austin, you're ring announcing for us today," and went out, excuse me, and just killed it. So that was kind of a natural fit there, and then, we just started spitballing ideas and came up with the broom and the Lysol and the polishing the boots and all that kind of stuff, and created the butler character. And like you said, I think they do a tremendous job for me. And if they don't, then they walk home. So it works out great for everybody.
That's right. And like I said, folks, I've seen Mitchell wrestle at DCCW in Muncie, Indiana, and it's a fantastic thing. It's one of those things that you kind of look forward to because they're like, this is just going to be fantastic. The crowd always has the best reactions, and it is just absolutely amazing. So if you ever see him out in the world at a wrestling promotion, go check him out, of course. But Mitchell, so speaking of wrestling, you appear all over the Midwest. You've definitely become a hot commodity because of your character and what you bring to the table. But tell us some of the promotions that you appear regularly for.
Right now I'm actually in Sandusky, Ohio. We got North Coast Wrestling tonight. over at the Dirty Boot Saloon. That's right. Mitchell Taylor is going to some place called the Dirty Boot Saloon. It's exactly as nice as it sounds like it's going to be. I do a lot of work with PWK up in northwestern Indiana. They kind of are the first ones that gave me an opportunity, 15 years ago. And, Eric King has come to be a friend of mine. He's someone that I'm always going to stay loyal to. I've worked for War, as we mentioned. Of course, DCCW down in Muncie, tremendous promotion down there with Jared and Terry and those guys. The fans are a group that really understands wrestling. That it's just a pleasure to go there every time. I recently did Tried and True down in Clarksville, Tennessee. Had a great time down there. Crimson runs an absolute class promotion down there. They're going to bring me back in. Everything went well there. MPG down in Central Indiana. POG, Dan Severn and Dollar and those guys up in Michigan. I'm 3 to 4 promotions every weekend, either wrestling or doing ring rentals for Merle Ramsey, who owns rentawrestlingring.com. So he sends me all over the place. I did Zalo Pro this week. I did Game Changer. There was an OCA, I believe I did Saturday. So, I'm getting out a lot. Looking forward to expanding that out even more.
Absolutely. So then, speaking of some of those promotions, obviously, you've had a lot of groundwork. You've had a lot to build yourself upon. But more recently, speaking of DCCW, you recently won their triple threat title in Muncie, Indiana. So kind of walk us through, what was your reaction for winning that championship, and what does that kind of mean for you?
Well, I was pretty honored by that. That's that's a belt that Joey Owens has carried for a while, and Joey's undoubtedly a wrestling legend, especially here in Indiana. And for he and Jared and Terry to put the faith in me to kind of keep that title elevated did mean a lot. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that all transpires. And the belt makes the man, or the man makes the belt. So let's hope we have a good combination of that there.
Absolutely. But that was definitely a fantastic match for folks who didn't get to see it, of course. And obviously Mitchell Taylor came out on top, as he typically does. But so with that being said, and with your career overall, I'm sure you've had a lot of highlights, a lot of fantastic things that you probably remember fondly. But if you just had to cite a few, maybe what are some highlights of your career so far?
Oh man, I think the DCCW win a couple Saturdays ago is definitely up there. The times that I've worked War have been extraordinary. War fans go above and beyond anywhere else, really. They bring signs and all that kind of thing. And, for an independent wrestler to look out and see your name on several signs kind of makes you feel like you made it, I guess. We've done some pretty big outdoor shows. Thousands of people there. So, anything like that, it's, every time is unique, no matter what, what you might know going in, and you're going over, you're going under, and this and that, it's always going to change. That's kind of the nature of the business. You have to have plans A through Z and 1 through 50, and you're still not prepared. So, to just be able to go out and do something that I've loved for going on, 35 years now is an honor, regardless of any outcomes or attendance or cheers or boos or anything.
No, absolutely. So then, with wrestling as well, we talked a lot about, the in-ring side of things, the training aspects, as well as some of your highlights. And I remember last time we spoke about this very briefly, but we talked a little bit about, how in the wrestling business, you drive a lot. That's just part of it. So with driving and with traveling the roads and whatnot, what would you? Do you have any like interesting road stories? I believe I remember the one you told me last time, but I'll let you tell them. But any interesting road stories?
That's yeah. The one we talked about last time, I was in Cicero, Illinois. That was a bar show as well. I don't remember what the place was called, but I'd gotten there, nearly an hour early, and so I was sitting in the parking lot in my car waiting to be able to get in, and there was a homeless lady. That's probably not the correct term for it. Residentially disadvantaged, or whatever it's called now. That walked right in front of my truck and turned to face me and was looking me straight in the eyes and just pulled her pants down and went to the bathroom right on the ground and never broke eye contact and stood up and recomposed herself and turned and walked away. So that was a unique experience, to say the least. I've blown ratchet straps off of open trailers going 75 miles an hour in Toledo, Ohio. I had an alternator breakdown in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. I still don't know where I was when that happened. So, it's something, again, kind of going back to what I was saying, plans A through Z, et cetera. Every trip has a story that comes out of it. Most of them can't be shared with the public, but it's definitely not a boring existence.
No, for sure. Especially, me and Dave, we've traveled to a couple shows, every now and then, and it's always something interesting. Either it's somebody at the venue itself, or it's just something along the way, for sure. So also, one thing we love to do on the podcast, on the show, is that we love to ask people, basically, we know your in-ring persona, we know what you do wrestling-wise, but what do you do outside the ring? So, what is Mitchell Taylor like in real life? Do you have any hobbies or anything like that?
Well, I live, like I said, in Fort Wayne. I've got 5 young men that I've been raising, for 17 years now. I spend my summers coaching baseball, my winters watching basketball, wrestling in between, and of course, as we spoke about last time, my daily hobby of watching the Golden Girls. And once again, thank you for being a friend, Ike.
Absolutely.
So it's a pretty normal existence outside of the wrestling business.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I remember last time your hobby of watching the Golden Girls, and I started to sing the song, but you said if you start singing, I'll continue it, and I think we'll have to save that for another time, but.
We can't blow it all in one shot.
That's right. We gotta save some for the next one. But so definitely Golden Girls, fantastic show. Anybody out there who's never seen the Golden Girls, just give it a shot. You're scrolling through the television stations on a Saturday afternoon. Just you see it, stop by it, and just check it out for a minute. But so in terms of wrestling, we've talked a lot about the past. What you've done. What you're doing. But what are some of Mitchell Taylor's goals for the rest of 2019? You only got a couple months left in 2019, but what can we expect for you in the coming months?
Well, my book's pretty full for the rest of 2019, but moving forward, most of my in-ring work is behind me, at least a lot more so than what's in front of me. So I want to finish out 2020 and get out as much as I can, hit more states, hit more promotions, meet more people. And that's really the main goal at this point. And then, at the end of 2020, I'm going to make some decisions. And I don't know what they're going to be, but maybe possibly transitioning into a commissioner type role or a manager, or, maybe we'll go a few more years inside the ring. I just don't know. But one way or the other, I want to get out and experience some new things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always a fantastic thing, getting out there and experiencing some new things and taking your fans along the way, of course. But speaking of taking your fans along the way, obviously the best way for fans to, see what you're doing and get a glimpse inside your world is social media. So do you have any social medias that people can follow you on and kind of keep up to date with you?
Yeah, I recommend Facebook. first and foremost, because I have Twitter, but I rarely use it. I don't post a lot on Facebook as far as commentary. There's just nothing good that's going to come out of that. But I'll post videos regarding upcoming matches. There's a couple on there that people might enjoy regarding Hardcore Norm for an event I have coming up in Benton Harbor. I believe I put something up about today, North Coast Wrestling. We're having the championship tournament. I think today is the semifinals. I always post posters of where I'm going to be. A lot of times I'll post advertisements for shows that I'm not even on, just because I believe in the promotion or believe in the guys on the show, or for whatever reason. I don't do a lot of interaction on there as far as messaging and things like that. If you wish me happy birthday, I'm not going to say thank you. I'm not going to wish you happy birthday, but if you want to check out and see where I'm going to be, hey, jump on and do it.
Absolutely. So remember, folks, Mitchell Taylor will not wish you happy birthday, but he may sing the Golden Girls song. We'll see. But Mitchell, thank you for, of course, coming on here, giving us some time to get to know you a little bit better and talk about some things. And
well, Ike, I do appreciate you having me on.
All right, folks, you know what to do now. Go follow him on Facebook. Don't wish him happy birthday, but see where he's going to be next, because you don't want to miss him. And like he said, don't look him in the eye. Just kneel before Mitchell Taylor.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on PowerSlam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others, with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at PowerSlam.tv.
Just use promo code DYNASTY.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Michael Osiris. How are we doing today?
I'm good.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. So, Michael, tell us, where are you from?
I currently live in Muncie, Indiana, but I'm actually from Chicago.
Okay. Very cool. Is that so? Where did you grow up in Chicago? Is that right?
Yeah, I grew up there for the majority of my life. It's where I got into wrestling.
Absolutely. So, speaking of, in terms of Chicago and in terms of wrestling, what are some of your first memories of wrestling as a fan?
Honestly, it's all the people you meet. I've met countless people through wrestling, and there's so many people I've met through it, and some of my closest friends are wrestlers.
So let me ask you, in terms of wrestlers, were there any that you were a fan of as a kid that maybe you drew influence on?
Yes, actually, Eddie Guerrero is one of my biggest influences in my career. He had such a passion for it. So, I try to inspire. I try to emulate Eddie as best I can in my wrestling, but you can't touch the greats on that one.
That's absolutely right. He's obviously Eddie Guerrero is a fantastic performer. He was definitely one of the greats of his time. But let me ask you, definitely when you think about wrestling, there was wrestling as a fan, but then there's the moment when you stop being a fan and you become part of the sport. So when did you know that wrestling had hooked you and that you wanted to do this?
To be honest, when it really broke down to it, it always said, don't try this at home. And I tried it at home one too many times. I hooked it, got dragged into it.
Yeah, I think that's like the most ignored warning of all time, that do not try this at home.
Isn't it?
I'm pretty sure every kid that I knew growing up, every single one of them were like, "Yeah, let's practice some of those wrestling moves in the backyard."
Yeah. It just took I never thought it was going to go this far. But, it just, my friends we got further into it, and next thing you know, we're getting pro booked. It's insane.
So obviously, part of, getting into the sport is, the process of getting trained. So when was it that you started that process, and who trained?
I was actually trained by a Chicago legend, the Real Deal Rion Skills. It was about 6 years ago I started with him. I've also, you learn secondhand through different people. A lot of my buddies, I wasn't the richest person in the world, so I couldn't go to the high end training. So a couple of my friends actually went to CSW up in Chicago and were trained by Steve Boz, and they come back and show us what they learned. Yeah, you learn. A lot of it too is you learn along the way. But Rion is actually one of the nicest trainers I've ever had. He's not one of those that will literally like run you down. He'll sit down and break down everything, the logic, the psychology, and it's one of the more amazing things that I've ever had to deal with.
Absolutely. And that's definitely, a definitely unique style too of training. And it's something I think you see more nowadays is the, more technical aspect of it, like you said, breaking it down both in the ring but also psychology-wise. It's definitely not like the old school where they just push you until you puke in the ring and hopefully you know what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
But with training, of course, eventually you I guess you could say graduated per se from that initial training, and you start having matches. What was your first match like?
My first match was a tag match in Richmond, Indiana, and I was so nervous. Like, it never even dawned on me that it's pretty much you're going on stage in front of so many eyes, and I actually have social anxiety, so it never dawned on me how bad it was going to be. And my first match, I'll be completely honest, is that I screwed up. I botched quite a bit because of my social anxiety, but over the years I've actually toned that down, so I'm actually pretty good now.
Absolutely. And that's always a struggle, right? But eventually, like you say, you not necessarily you don't get over it, as they say, but like you say, you kind of build up sort of a tolerance for it. So that way it doesn't affect you as much. I definitely feel you there.
Yeah, it's a rough go at first, but after as soon as I got to my round of my second match, I was fine, and the fans make it easier. They make it harder, but they make it easier.
No, absolutely. So actually, kind of like along the same lines, with you being, sort of on the newer end of the wrestling spectrum and being on the kind of on the scene for independent wrestling. Right now, independent wrestling it's pretty incredible. It's as hot as it's ever been. But in your opinion, what would you say is the best and the worst thing about being a part of independent wrestling?
The best thing about being an independent wrestler is that depending on where you go, you can change everything. There's been a huge shift in wrestling these days, and you could literally you could be anybody. But one of the worst things though is that a lot of it really breaks down to is some of these promoters. I've had personal beefs with promoters where they'll tell you one thing and then just pretty much stiff you at the end. And I don't think that's healthy for the business. If a promoter tells you something, they should probably stick to it. It's like there are bosses, but at the same time, you gotta stick to something like that.
No, absolutely. There's, I feel like sometimes there does lack some accountability on that part because, like you said, they're sort of like the boss, but who keeps the boss in check?
Right, exactly. And it's there's so many promotions these days, which that's where the real problem runs into is that I give it to them. You need to get your product out there. That's fine, but there's so many these days that there's no accountability. You're right. There's no one to keep them in check. I know in Chicago, for instance, they have I can't remember the name for it now, but they pretty much have a commission for it. But here in Indiana, there's so many promotions here, it's not even funny.
No, yeah, absolutely. I can't remember who it was I talked to the other day, but their words were, some people think that you can just set up a wrestling ring, throw a couple people in the ring, and all of a sudden you're a promotion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But obviously, wrestling has its ups and downs, of course. But on a slightly different note, something that you're also a part of, that through our research, of course, we understand that you're part of a group or a stable called No Coach Chicago. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's actually I was getting at earlier with I've made so many friends. I actually grew up with my other two teammates, Joe and Brian, and we've been in the business together from the get go, and it just eventually finally the last of us got trained up to the point where we can all go pro, and we said hell, why not, and then became a group. It's been a fun ride with them so far.
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely getting to work with friends, especially in the kind of business that wrestling is. Having some friends and people to kind of have your back in this business is definitely a good thing. But also, in addition to that, you definitely had some good experiences within wrestling. You've been doing it for a little bit now. So if you had to just say, one thing, what would you say is the top highlight of your career so far?
It would have to be, I did a show about, I think it was about 2 months ago, and it was called Wrestling for a Cure, and all proceeds went to St. Jude for children's research, and that's actually it's a magical thing because you never realize how much the fans and how much you could do for a cause like that, and I did hot opener that show, and the fans were just so into it, and it's for a good cause. You never realize it. You just never realize just how much we get into a certain thing like that. The community is amazing, and they'll reach out. Just like a couple weeks ago when I did a show, that Wrestling for a Christian thing, like all proceeds went to the family. Wrestling's are actually really, really, fun community.
No, yeah, absolutely. Wrestling can do a lot of great things. Obviously, like we said, there are good and bad things, but wrestling can definitely be a positive community if it wants to be, of course. And actually, speaking of, you mentioned this. You recently debuted for DCCW in Muncie, which me and Dave actually go to and we commentate most of the time. But you recently debuted at the Christian benefit, of course, for the family, like you mentioned. So tell us what it's like working there and about your debut.
I have no issues with DCCW so far. I mean, that locker room was amazing. So many good people. On my debut, though, I got there and I didn't know what was happening. It's it's kind of a weird thing to go into a new place because you never know what's going to happen. I've actually met quite a few of the guys in the locker room and other promotions, and actually Split Rail, as a matter of fact, I met him at a couple shows in Indy, and so when they told me I was going to tag with him, I was actually kind of excited about it because he's someone I knew. But I kind of got my ass handed to me the entire match, but overall, that I loved my debut. The fans were amazing. It worked out in the end there.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a great match, and Split Rail's he's a good guy. He's got some good talent, but you two have some great talent as well. So for folks who maybe didn't see this match or weren't there for you, you can actually go to the DCCW page on Facebook, and there's actually a live stream of the match, so you can actually see our friend here, Michael Osiris, in action if you wanted to. But so besides that, of course, DCCW is obviously one of many promotions I'm sure you work for. Where all else are you currently working regularly?
Regularly, I'm working for Phoenix Pro in Wisconsin, and home in Wisconsin. They have a show coming Saturday, as a matter of fact. I'm actually me and Nokos are the trios champions up there. Other than that, I work WOE in Centerville, Illinois. And that's about it for right now.
Absolutely. And those are definitely some good promotions as well. So a little bit more on the wrestling side with the Midwest, because having grown up in Chicago, Illinois, and then having moved to Indiana, you kind of stuck around the Midwest for some time. And I feel like Midwest wrestling is some of the best wrestling there is out there right now. So would you say that you enjoy, representing the Midwest, I think I should say. Is that something that you feel confident in when you wrestle?
Oh yeah, most definitely. In the Midwest here, you get the diversity of everything. You get every style. I personally enjoy wrestling everybody. Honestly, when it really breaks down to it, it's kind of a lot sometimes to represent an entire region like this. And obviously I don't have to do it by myself, but I feel like I have to, especially like I'm from Chicago, so I have a different style than most people here in Indiana. So like it gets a little wonky there every now and again, but I absolutely love doing it.
Absolutely. And like you said, the Midwest is kind of like a melting pot of wrestling. There's so many fantastic, varying, and greatly different forms of wrestling that it all just kind of compiles together in a nice mess of all kinds of great styles. But so on a slightly different note, we talk a lot about wrestling on our show, but we also like to talk about the wrestler. We like to talk about, what is Michael Osiris like outside of the ring? So, so basically, I guess the question would be, what do you like outside of the ring? Do you have any hobbies or anything interesting about you you'd like to share?
Honestly, I'll keep it 100 with you. I game all the time. Gaming's my life outside of wrestling. That and fishing. That's the only two things I got for me.
Well, I too enjoy gaming as well. What kind of games do you
play? I'm more into the different RPGs right now. With my other work schedule, I've been pretty much on the shelf. Borderlands, the Arkham series, the Assassin's Creed series. Those I just love a good story base.
No, absolutely. I've played all the Arkham games. I haven't completely beat Arkham Knight yet, but I'll eventually get back to it.
Right.
But other than that, I think fans have probably heard me say this a lot, but I love horror games, so, definitely story-driven for sure.
Oh, definitely.
But it's always good to have somebody on here who plays video games. I don't play a whole lot of Borderlands, but aren't they coming out with another game pretty soon for that?
Yep, they're dropping the third one in 2 weeks.
So you got that down pat. You just know when it's coming out and everything.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't blame you. So I guess on a similar note, with wrestling and with your personal life, like you said, sometimes you got to find time to do things, and sometimes you got to shelf it. But with all things, we all have goals. What can we expect out of Michael Osiris for the remainder of 2019? What kind of goals do you have?
I know this isn't going to sound spectacular or anything, but I kind of keep my goals simple. I just want to stay healthy and keep at it. I want to perfect my craft. The big things will come in the long run, but as of right now, I just want to stay healthy. I had an accident about 2.5 weeks ago, and where I was doing my putter that I did at DCCW, but pretty much somebody came at me in a wrong angle, and I almost broke my neck. So at this point, I just want to stay healthy because I kind of have to.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Keeping your health up, staying healthy. That's pretty important, not only for wrestling, but just in general.
Yeah.
But hey, that's a good goal. I 100% support that goal.
Yeah.
But so one last thing for you. We've talked a lot about a lot of different things. We've talked about goals. We've talked about video games. We've talked about wrestling. But now I just want to give you a chance to throw out your social medias. Where can people find you? Where can people keep up to date with you and see where you're going to be next?
You can definitely find me on Facebook at Michael Osiris. You can find me on Instagram at Michael _ Osiris 90. That's pretty much the only 2 places you can find me. I try to keep a profile, honestly.
Hey, that's not an entirely bad thing. Social media is great, but sometimes it's a little too much. But
sometimes.
Yes, it can. But all right, folks out there who are listening to the Dave Dynasty Show, you know what to do now. Go out there, find Michael on social media. Try not to scare him too much. But give him a follow, check in with him, and see where he's going to be next. Michael, I want to thank you so much for giving us here at the Dave Dynasty Show some time to get to know you and to learn a little bit more about you. We definitely appreciate it. It's been honest. It's been a pleasure and an honor to speak with you, sir.
All right, thank you.
If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. And welcome back. I am Dave Dynasty. This is the Dave Dynasty Show, and thank you for listening to another episode brought to you every week free. So make sure you give us a hand and support us. The best way you can do that is go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/TheDaveDynasty and buy a shirt. Get one of the new Bruiser Buddies shirts. They are so cool. You're going to want one. Go check them out. Go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/TheDaveDynasty. You can also make financial contributions. Go to PayPal.me/TheDaveDynasty to make a one-time contribution. Go to Patreon.com/TheDaveDynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. All those things help us out, help keep the show up and running, and help keep it for free every week. Special thanks to Stephen P. New, the law offices of Stephen P. New, for coming on board, as you heard earlier, as an official sponsor of the Dave Dynasty Show. We are proud to be working with them. Stephen does a lot of spectacular, great work out there, and we are happy to have him on board, as we are happy to have Brian Cannon on board with those Ohio Valley Wrestling reports. I'm a huge fan of Ohio Valley Wrestling, have been for many, many years, And I'm glad to have Brian Cannon on to provide reports from OVW and their events, their TV shows, their TV tapings, etc. Actually, not tapings anymore. They're going to be live every week. So I'm very happy to have him on board. You can check out his blog at ovwmania.blogspot.com. So go check that out. Special thanks to him for coming on board. And special thanks to Michael Osiris and Mitchell Taylor for coming on and doing those interviews for this week. And we will be back next week. Speaking of Ohio Valley Wrestling, next week we have a very cool interview with the OVW Heavyweight Champion, Justin Smooth, the Trinidad Titan himself. We'll be on next week with an exclusive interview, and then we will get back into our historic deep dives after that. So watch Twitter for an upcoming poll to pick what the next topic of our historical episode will be. But until then, and wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.